Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to the recap of the Walking Dead universe. We are here live every week during the show season to discuss the latest episode. Today, we are covering TWD Dead City Season 2, Episode 8, the season finale, If History Were a Conflagration. I'm your host, Tamara, and I am glad you've joined us for today's episode. A special thank you to everyone joining us live tonight and taking time out of your evening to be here. Before we begin, please follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. The links to find both me and Lisa are in the show notes. And if you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss out on a single episode. Joining me is show co-host Lisa. Welcome, Lisa.
Hey Tamara, hey everyone. My name is Lisa Orban. I am an author. I am also the founder of Indies United Publishing House, and I love all things pop culture.
All right. So before we get started, we'd love your participation in this conversation. So if you're listening live on YouTube, hit us up in the comment section. If you are listening on a replay, you can still comment on YouTube or Spotify, or even leave us a voicemail using the SpeakPipe link in the show notes. If you are new to the podcast, we are laid back in our review style, right, Lisa?
Absolutely, Tamara. This is a conversation and a dissertation.
Exactly. No scene by scene breakdowns here. We jump around. And of course, huge spoiler alert for everything, every show in this world through yesterday's episode. So if you are good with that, this is the place for you. And we should just get to it. There are things to talk about.
Yes. I should note this. I don't know if you guys out there know this or not, but Tamara and I absolutely do not discuss these shows before we come on air.
No, we don't.
So we have no idea what the other person is going to think of or say about the show.
Yeah, I love that we have like really fresh, uninfluenced opinions.
Yes.
Because we talked before, we might change our minds on things.
Right. And so I mean we do talk before the show. It's just never about the show.
Right, exactly. Yeah, actually, I'm seeing some people talking about Daryl Dixon already. Did you see
Yeah.
the updated date is September 7th?
No, actually the they had what do you call it, little previews for it right before The Walking Dead,
Mm-hmm.
Dead City, and right after, but it just said coming this fall.
Oh,
So
well, no, I guess it's been official. It's now September 7th, which is way earlier than we originally thought.
yeah, we were afraid it was going to be out in November.
Yeah. So that's good. So we don't
Mhm.
have too much of a break before we start Daryl Dixon again. Guess we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Hopefully that finale is better than this one. Okay, let's talk about this one. Oh
Okay.
God.
All right, jump on in, Tamara. I can feel that you want to say things.
Okay, so I do. But first, I kind of just want to make a blanket statement about this season. Two things about this season. First, I did not like any of the titling for any episode. I'm like, what the? I don't like it. I don't
Hmm.
know what they were doing this season. It just didn't work for me.
Okay.
Second, this whole season was a whole bunch of WTF is going on.
Hmm.
And I really did not like that. And, we had made some guesses for the finale, and we were kind of right a little bit,
I guess.
I
Yeah.
guess. So while I was watching the finale, I thought it was fine enough, but I kept questioning things. I couldn't turn my brain off. And then when it was over, I'm like, really? Blech. That's kind of what I did at the end.
Well, it's okay. So we kind of talked about New Babylon. Were they going to send more people?
Oh, they sent them.
And they sent them. Now, my question is why did they send 50 pretty much unsoldiery people into this city? And they sent I guess they're actual soldiers, but they don't have any recon as far as I can tell. No one's gotten back with them about what's going on. To the best of my knowledge, they have no more insight than they did when they started. So what's
Facts.
the point?
Facts. So, okay, when they first came over, remember we were trying to say, well, how many of them are there? We were trying to figure out how many were left behind,
Hmm.
because we're like, they wouldn't have sent everyone. So who did they leave behind? They left the main person in charge of the army.
Hmm.
They came and they died. So who's left? I guess maybe more generals, more
For
higher.
Italian, I don't know. But again, and these guys have, I mean, I'm not going to call it uniforms. They didn't really look like uniforms, but they looked similarly dressed.
Mhm.
And they were walking a little more in lockstep,
Mhm.
a crowd or a mob. So I'm going to say this was probably one of their trained battalions or trained soldiers. To which,
The ones that joined voluntarily, maybe.
yeah, but to which my question is, why didn't they send these guys first?
It was like they wanted to send the conscripted people, like the people who didn't want to be there. Why would
Yeah,
that's like, why would you send your B team to do recon?
right,
And but you sent them along with the leader. That makes no sense.
right. No, militarily, what they did doesn't make any sense because if they were going for stealth, they failed miserably.
Right.
Um, I mean, I guess their arrival did cause some destabilization, true enough,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I don't. I'm sure there's a plan. Maybe I don't know. I it just that's always really, and for you and I both, it's bothered us both. Why this? How many people are there? Did they really think that 50 untrained people were going to be able to both fight and then hold the methane?
Right.
And we still have the issue of it's not the facility. I mean, the facility is it's convenient that it's there. Don't get me wrong, but the facility itself is worthless unless they have people who know how to use it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe we'll actually hear some plans from, I guess, the next bad guy who's in charge of New Babylon. I guess.
I guess.
Because we sure didn't get any plans. We didn't know what the hell they were doing other than looking for, the fuel. That's it. That's
Right.
all we knew. We didn't know what plan B was. Were they just gonna try to take it back? Were they gonna try to just hold the location until more people came? How long before they came? I'm assuming they had some kind of plan and they just didn't show up just to show up. I don't know.
Right. And again, to the best of my knowledge, I mean, I guess some of the people that were on the ship ended up maybe going back to the shore
Hmm.
and they went, "Hey, we got firebombed." But that's all the information they could have given them.
Yeah. And it made it seem like everyone who was on that initial boat was gone.
Right. The
That's
ones
what it
that
made. Yeah.
I mean, there was a few that did wash up to shore, like the historian.
Yeah, like, outside of that little group of people, there was no
Hmm.
one left to even
Right.
swim back. So, I'm not sure.
Yeah. To the best of my knowledge, there's no radio. I mean, I guess there could have been, but I don't know who would have had it. It would have. It seems to me that it would have been one of the higher ups that had the radio. I guess they could have left someone on the shore with binoculars. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
They're in the river. The radios are in the river.
So,
I don't
um,
know. But, the way they came in there, though, they
they came
were
with purpose.
yeah, they just said, "We're coming in here. We're just killing people before we even ask questions," which I'm surprised that, he even bothered to ask Benjamin a question.
Right.
He's like, "Who you with?" Basically. He's like, and he was smart enough to say New Babylon, thank goodness.
Right.
But that other lady just got murdered for really fast before she could even say boo.
Well, it could be that she ran at him.
Well, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. And he, I mean, let's face it, Benjamin does look pretty helpless.
He does. He seems like he wouldn't do anything, but so I mean, well, that's good. I'm kind of happy he made it out of the season. Maybe they might surprise us with him. They plan on using him in a interesting way next season.
I mean, we can always hope.
Yeah.
Although
Maybe.
he did basically swear to be Negan's ride or die. Well, maybe not for the fighting part, but the other stuff, you know. But he was quick to give that up.
Well, maybe he could be a spy.
Yeah,
He'd be a good spy. He's so unassuming.
he is. And him writing things down and taking notes of things wouldn't be out of character. So,
Mhm. Well, I'm curious to see what they do with that because I didn't expect that. I kind of thought New Babylon would play if they were going to show up, they would have shown up earlier, and I thought there may be some kind of fight with them or something, but they weren't in it at all until the end, basically.
right. Now, I will say, I guess, as far as the 50 conscripts, they did destabilize the the three major powers on the island.
Yeah.
So there is that. If if they hadn't have shown up, they may not have, well, did what they did.
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how, since they're coming in there now, guns are blazing, just,
Hmm.
just taking prisoners and all this kind of stuff. I'm curious to see, are they going to have to send out scouts to figure out what the heck is going on? That seems strange. Like they're just gonna come in there and try to take stuff over. They don't know where anything is. They don't know what's what. They have no clue what's going on.
Yeah, they don't know what happened to their people.
Right.
Nothing. I mean, maybe for them, because they were conscripts, these were throwaway people. They had no intentions of them coming back alive.
Maybe. I'm sure Benjamin will fill them in.
Hmm.
You know. Huh. Well, I don't know. We'll see. That was kind of lackluster though, but I guess they're setting up for next season,
Hmm.
which is going to be interesting because we also have, someone else I was hoping would die this episode and they did not, and that was the Dama.
Dama.
I was hoping she would be gone, but she's not. But we kind of guessed that Herschel's ass would stay in New York, and that would be,
Hmm.
his mom's reasons to say stay. Maggie would not leave him, and
Right.
that's what happened.
Well, and I kind of thought it was a little bit interesting, the Dom and Maggie together,
Uh huh.
and and the Dom is using all of her manipulations that she uses. Well, she used on the Croat, that she tried on Negan, that she used successfully, with Herschel. And Maggie's just looking at her like, okay, you know,
Yeah. But she was gonna do it. I mean, I feel like she kind of got under her skin a little bit, but what sealed the deal was when Herschel came in,
yeah,
basically demanding that she do it.
right. I don't think it was the Dama as much as it was Herschel saying we need this for us to move on, and she went, well, yeah, maybe you're right. I've just invested a lot of time in this whole Negan thing, and he's not wrong,
No, he's
but
not.
I'm like, they can't, are they can't kill him, and then she stabbed him. I'm like, huh, that's different.
Very different. That stab was ridiculous.
Uh
And I'm
huh.
like, well, if you're gonna do it, do it. You're gonna stab him, stop and look all like crazy about it. Watch him drag himself. It was a fiasco, even though I knew the whole time, obviously, she's not gonna do anything. Obviously.
Right.
So that whole thing was kind of disrespectful to me. I don't know. We got those scenes and it did nothing because we knew he wasn't gonna be killed
Right.
the whole time.
Now
But I
I
guess.
was listening to the after interview, and I guess that's the first time Maggie's ever swung his bat or picked it up.
Okay.
So she was like, yeah, she's like, gotta tell you, this prop, it has some power. You know.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it
So
does. But I don't know. I guess I didn't really care for that. I would have rather, I don't know, her got with her son and being like, "Look, kid, I know that's
Mhm.
what you want, but that's not what's gonna happen." And talk some sense to him, or like even have an argument with him, or have some more conflict with him in another way. But that
Right.
just seemed like almost a waste, especially with everything else going on in the moment. It
Mhm.
was just like this extra thing that didn't need to be there, knowing she would not kill him. That's all. Like if it was a real chance that maybe he might die, okay, maybe, but there never was. He's got that plot armor is strong.
Right. Well, and there may be a possibility that maybe Maggie was like, "Yeah, okay, I will do this. I will do this for Herschel. I love my son. It makes sense, and then we can move on from this, and I can get him back." But I really, honestly, even if she killed Negan, I don't think that would solve her problems with either Herschel or the Dama.
No, that's just the beginning because the Dama wants Negan gone.
Hmm.
So she's really just thinking about her own interest,
Yep.
which is why she was pushing Herschel to tell his mother that, she convinced him because if I remember correctly, earlier this season, we were trying to decide if Herschel actually wanted Negan dead. Like, how does he actually feel about that man?
Right. And and I know that in a lot of ways, the relationship that he has had with Negan is just as complicated as the relationship that he's had with Maggie,
Right.
um, or that Maggie's had with Negan,
Exactly.
because there was a period of time where he didn't hate Negan. He didn't necessarily like him, but he kind of looked looked up to him. I guess maybe
I
it
don't know if
wasn't.
I'd go that far, but I feel like I don't know, Negan was helping them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think he just appreciated that, they were
Right.
able to work together, I guess. I
Right.
don't know. I don't think
Like I
he
said,
hated him, but he definitely.
he's definitely had as complicated a relationship
Yeah,
with Negan as Maggie has, for a lot of the same reasons.
yeah, exactly.
So,
And then the Dama knew exactly what buttons to push,
mhm,
just like she did the first time around when he went home and became a spy, basically. She knew exactly what to say to him. And I think eventually he's going to figure it out. I don't know if they're going to time jump it or something where he's a little older because he's still young. He's malleable.
right,
It might be easier to just trick him right now, but eventually he's going to figure out that she's manipulating him
yeah.
eventually.
But part of the reason that manipulation is working is because a lot of the things she's saying align with the things that he wants, and part of that was is he really had no desire to be at the bricks,
Right.
and he wanted he wanted someone to appreciate his abilities, his visions,
Mhm.
of what could be.
Mhm.
And the Dama going, "You're exactly what we need. Someone who doesn't remember the old world, someone who has no ties to that experience, who can see the city for what it could be." And I'm sure that makes him, because he's always been the, sit down Herschel and be quiet person, rather than, oh, you have, that's a good idea. You know what I mean? So it definitely does stroke his ego to have her put that much faith in him, so to
Mm.
speak.
I heard a theory that Herschel's going to become a bad guy. And then I'm not totally against that. I
Hmm.
could see that easily happening since he's so easily manipulated
Yeah.
and so weak minded. I could
Hmm.
see him actually start to do bad things um, because he thinks maybe that's the way because he's been told that. I
Yeah.
could see him doing that.
The means justifying the ends.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to kill these couple of people, because in the end, you know, X and X will happen. And in this world, that's very much how things work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not just the Dama. It wasn't just Negan. It's New Babylon. It's, the means justify the ends. A lot of these communities, a lot of the people that he's met with and interacted with, the means justify the ends.
Honestly, all he has to do is just say, "Why not for me? Everyone else is doing it." Simple, case
Right,
closed. This is just how things work, just like you said,
right.
case closed. But then we have to deal with, how Maggie's going to deal with her badass son. Um, I don't know. He's so ridiculous to me. I don't, and I just something about his character. It just grates on my nerves so bad. Like we all know, Maggie is not the mother of the year, right?
Right.
We know this. But he has given her zero slack, negative amount of slack. Like he blames her for everything. And I don't really grasp that. Like, why? I just wish we got a little bit more insight on their relationship. I feel like they could have shown us a little bit more to satisfy that. I just
Yeah.
don't understand why he's so like this.
I mean, we saw a little bit of it from The Walking Dead,
Yeah.
and they were talking about all the different places, all the different settlements that she had taken him to, and all the issues and all the because every place they went to, something it fell or something bad happened or whatever. Um,
But that also can just be this is just how life is now.
right, but and she, and then you go back to like Alexandria where she eventually took him. Um, and while things had gotten momentarily bad, they did eventually get better again.
Mhm.
And instead of them going back to where it was good, she's kept him in a place like New Babylon, which is bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, you know, I know he has a lot of complicated feelings about Maggie, but he does blame her for things that are both inside and outside of her control.
And the writing and yes, like we said, two things can be true, right? He has complicated feelings.
Hmm.
Some of it is valid, some of it is not. But
Yeah,
to me, the writing just makes him seem more of a brat than anything.
right,
How that character has been expressing himself is so bratty and stupid. Like, you are an idiot. That's why I want to say this child. Like, you're a child. I understand, but I don't understand.
right. You're
It,
lucky. You have a parent left. A lot of
yeah,
kids do not.
exactly.
And yes, Maggie is very damaged, but she would also move heaven and earth to help him, to save him, and he knows that she would do anything for him. And I'm sure he was banking on that when he went in and said Negan's got to die.
How about give us a scene where after the Dama like clocked your mother, how about you yell at her or something? Instead, he's
Right.
like, "Oh, sorry." She's gonna do that. What? Like, you're not even mad? Like you said, this is your last freaking parent. That's all you got.
Oh,
You should have knocked her into a coma or something. Who
yeah.
knows?
And he doesn't even have a backup parent,
No.
like Judith had, or
Like, why?
RJ, or Grace.
He has like no emotion except for anger. Like, he
Yeah,
doesn't even, like, why would he just not be upset about how his mother was chained to that pipe?
right.
Like, come on, you got to be kidding me. What is the Dama saying to you where you think this is okay? That's crazy. See,
Yeah,
again, I don't understand. Even if you don't agree with how your mother is handling things and you want it more your way, or even if you feel like she can't relate, oh, she doesn't understand me. Who wants to see their parent like locked up like that? That's crazy.
yeah,
That does not jive at all to me. That's what makes him even more bratty. Like, you've got to be kidding. Maybe she should leave him with her. Like, deuces. I'll see you in a little bit when you grow up.
hmm,
I'm around because you're the worst.
right. Well, and I will give Maggie props for this. With him, when she went back and he knew as soon as he saw her, he knew she hadn't killed him.
Mhm.
But instead of trying to drag him out of there or anything else, she just said, "I'll stay here. I'll be here. If you need me, I'm not leaving the island.
Mhm.
I guess I'm going to let you go and do your own thing, but I'm here." So she's at least not, because up until this point, she has been trying to drag him off anywhere,
Yeah,
and she finally let go to say, I'm not going to do that anymore.
right. Which I think was the right move, even though I do think it's a good chance he'll be get worse before he gets better.
Right.
And he'll be running amok, and who knows what they're going to set up for next season, because so far it just seems like it's him and the Dama. They don't have any other people
Mm-mm.
helping
It,
them. So,
it's just the two of them wandering around that apartment.
a old lady and a child.
Yep. Um, correct me if I'm wrong, but the place where the her Negan and Pearlie went, that was that one apartment that the Croat took her to, isn't it?
When? Wait, what do you mean?
Near the end of this episode,
Uh-huh.
when Negan still had the knife in his back, they took him into a building.
Uh-huh.
Was that the one that the Croat had taken her to?
I am not sure about that. Maybe, but it looked like they had like kid stuff in that room, like it was a
Okay.
school or something. Like, like there's a little kids blocks on the floor, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I'm not sure that was the same place.
Okay. I mean, you might be right. I was trying to decide if that was or not.
Mhm.
They're fairly high up, but it didn't really say where they were.
Right.
But it wouldn't surprise me if Maggie had picked that spot because it's right across the way from where the Dama is right now.
Oh, I guess maybe it could even be, how most churches have other buildings like attached or nearby that are the same property.
Right.
Maybe it's that. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I don't even know if it matters really. But that's interesting how the three of them ended up together.
Yeah. I will say this, I was not expecting that at all.
No, okay. So Negan got to be his old self. He got to say his little phrase and swing his bat around and all this stuff and murder. And he almost was about to murder, you know, Pearlie.
Yeah. Oh, the way he killed the oh, what's his
Yes,
name? Oh, that was harsh.
that was bold. I'm like, okay, so he did not want to just smash him. He just was like, you want this what you call it,
Methane?
methane so bad, here you go. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, like what is he doing? So that was jarring, that was different, and then he just lit him ablaze.
Yep.
He had no problem killing him, and I'm okay with it too, because Bruegel was okay as a character,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna miss him.
No, I'm not either.
But I didn't expect him to be killed so quickly.
Yeah. And that whole he did his eeny meeny miny mo again.
Yeah,
And when he stopped on Pearlie, he's like, "But you're not the one I really want to kill.
right,
You are."
right. But he was gonna kill him anyway. He was gonna come back and kill him,
Yeah.
but he got
Well,
away.
and and Pearlie was. He's like, what if I was doing all this to save her? Yeah, but I'm tired of maybes,
Yeah.
and I get that. I mean, I do. This is
Mhm.
a whole world that is just on the brink of collapse anyway, and you can't trust anyone, and a maybe really isn't a promise.
Mhm.
But Pearlie, I mean, he's not a he's not a bad guy. And I did like
No.
Negan's speech. Bet you wish you would have killed me now
Betty Betty kind of did.
when you had the chance. Probably should have done it.
I mean, I don't know. They may end up being besties or something, depending on how this group, the three of them, end up getting along next season.
Yeah.
They'll be like, that one time you tried to kill me? Ah, ha ha ha! Funny.
That's so funny.
I
You
don't
know,
know. I think they're interesting, combination to stick together. But
yeah,
Curly's kind of like a follower anyway. So they already have two alphas. They don't need a third.
right, right. That would be entirely too much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not as weak as like the Croat. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
But he is not a strong personality.
No, not at all. Um, but he's serious and he does have an opinion, but he's definitely not able to take charge of a group. That's
Right.
clear.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I'm curious to see. I'm glad he made it out. Yay, he made it out alive. I'm glad.
Hmm.
So Bruegel got axed, which that was spectacular. I think that was probably the best part. And then the Croat, we never saw him, but we know he's slinking around there somewhere.
Somewhere.
Somewhere. So he made it out alive. He's going to be back next season to run amok, I'm sure.
Mm.
Um, Now, another person that did not make it out, and I thought she would die, but I didn't expect her to just be turned. I did not
Yeah.
expect that. So, Jenny, bye, Jenny.
Yeah.
Uh, and to be honest, I'm not going to hate the fact that I'd never have to hear Maggie say, Jenny, the way she says, Jenny is so annoying. Like, why she call her like that? Her way she pronounces her name, dude. Oh my gosh. So, that character is gone. Um, that was a good scene though.
Yeah. I did. I
Negan
did
was
like that
crying.
scene, and
Yeah.
and with Negan, no, she wasn't supposed to die alone. I did all of this for her to save her.
Mhm.
I stuck around and I stayed here and I'm doing this because she can't be moved.
Right.
And he was sure he could save her.
He thought he could.
He thought he could, but
I didn't think she would make it. But I thought she would just be killed because she was doing something or in the wrong place. I didn't think she would just pass away.
and I would imagine. I mean, I guess infection really is it kills.
Mhm.
Infection is dangerous. And while he did find her the ventilator, he did not find any antibiotics.
No, he did not.
So, if she was, she had a raging infection, the ventilator would have kept her breathing per se, but it wouldn't have cured her.
No, it wouldn't
So,
have. So she's gone. That was actually a pretty interesting scene. And even Maggie, so Maggie was going to finish Negan off
uh-huh.
until she saw that. And she's like, oh, dang. And she even looked like she wanted to give him a pat on the back. Like, are you okay? you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, she did give him a knife.
Yeah, she did. Like, take care of your person, which is,
Uh-huh.
what you're supposed to do. Um, but she instantly, like, just changed about face. That was when she made the final decision, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
not to go through with it. So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that scene I think was one of the better ones as well in this episode, if I had to put it out there. I also thought the scene where, they came into the church, Bruegel and his people came into the church and he had that feast laid out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh no. But of course, after he told him that story about feeding them dead meat,
Yeah.
he knew they wouldn't eat it unless it was real.
Right.
Um, but that was like, I was looking at that like, what kind of meat is that? What is that? What is that? That's a lot
Bear.
of food wasted
Yeah.
for this little trick.
Oh yeah. And I'm sure they probably figured they could clean it up and you know uh, reuse at least some of it.
Well, maybe not with all the walkers under the table walking around and spewing guts everywhere.
Right.
That
But
food is
they were
wasted.
all. But that was all on the other side.
Yeah.
So, and it could have been props too,
Yeah, it could have been.
because they weren't that far from the theater. They
Mhm.
The theater would have food props.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But I would like to know, the dead are not silent. So, I guess I can just suspend disbelief momentarily, but how did no one hear them under the table? How did first it takes probably a lot of effort to get them under the table and secured.
Yeah.
And they're in there probably shuffling and bumping into each other.
Well, we do know that if they're in if they're in the dark, they tend not to move around too much. But with them talking and moving around, that should have activated them.
Right.
So I don't know.
I don't know.
They put earplugs in. I don't know.
I don't know. It seemed odd,
It did.
but again, they do a lot of things that are odd um, on this show. But I guess it was cool when they started using the flamethrowers. That was good.
Hmm.
That was
Yeah.
fun. You know. And then of course, Bruegel got his hands on one of the flamethrowers.
Yeah. He had a good
Um,
time with it.
yeah. And honestly, Pearlie was the only one looking around like something isn't right.
Hmm.
They're all like, "Sure, let's eat the food." Got you. Close the doors. Actually, that kind of reminded me of the Red Wedding a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I will say, and it also kind of reminded me a little bit of Bruegel's feast with the whole carrot thing.
Mhm.
Um, they food is significant,
Mhm.
but yeah, I do want to know because in the first season, it seemed like there was a ton of people under the Dama. Okay, when they went through that, when he walked through that uh, the theater to meet her
Uh-huh.
for the first time, there was people everywhere. When he
Mhm.
went through the city, when they had their fights, you
Mhm.
know, that he was witness to, there was a ton of people.
Mhm.
Where are all these people?
That's a good question. I don't know. Where are they? Maybe they're around, but he just has like a small group of people he needed for the task, and the others are just hiding or secured somewhere. I don't know.
Because with the number of people they had from first season that they showed us, they should be able to easily overwhelm the New Babylon people
One would think.
because they filled part of a stadium.
Mhm.
That's a lot of people.
Mhm.
So where are they? Because we
That's
haven't seen that many people this season.
I know. I don't know. But that's how this show rolls. They just expect us to just take what's happening at face value and
Yeah,
not question anything, I guess. I
and
don't know.
and we know that we got Negan, we've got Pearlie, and we've got Maggie,
Mhm.
and they took off, but there were still his people still alive, quite a few of them
Yeah.
when he got stabbed in the back, and then they didn't do it. And he did tell them, "No, I got this," but where did they go?
Whatever secondary building they're in, because that church was a meeting spot, right?
Yeah,
So is the theater maybe their home?
no, because Maggie went to the theater, remember, and there weren't that many people there.
I don't know. They're somewhere,
I mean, they could all be holed up where the methane is.
maybe.
I don't know. Like I said, it just the whole thing of who has the numbers, we just never know.
Mhm. Which is, I guess, again, like it allows them to write whatever they want, and we just never know. And we just, I don't know. I don't like that. But
I don't either. Because again, I mean, whatever from last season, I would have guesstimated, and the way that things were operating and people running in to the Croats beck and call, that there was at least 5,000 people.
mhm.
So, and even at the beginning of this season, when they were showing the trucks going out and scooping up the dead, it seemed like there were a lot of people because there was even more people inside the manufacturing, you know,
Well, maybe they're all
factory.
in their apartments. You know those buildings where they turned on the lights?
Yeah,
And you could see, like, those apartments and other
hmm,
places, like, lighting up. Maybe they're just kinda spread out through those areas? Like,
maybe.
they're there, but not congregated in one place per se? You know? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't either.
because if I needed like a team of 20 to try to, okay, so let's pretend Negan said, okay, I need a team of 20 to help me take out the Bruegel and his people at this fake
Mhm.
dinner. He wouldn't need everyone. I mean, it
Right.
seemed like they had a plan. The song stopped and the action started, right?
Right.
So he did have a plan. And he doesn't need a bunch of random people who have no skill set mulling around. Uh,
True.
so maybe, like I said, they're just off uh, being secure wherever they're supposed to be. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean the big reason why I'm curious is, do they have the numbers to take the Babylon people?
They probably do. They probably do. They have the weapons for sure. I mean, think about that cache of weapons that was hiding in the church.
Yeah.
They have all these weapons. They have the people. We know that they're violent enough to do it.
Yeah.
So unless the New Babylon people have some kind of unseen, unknown like weapon or skill set, I think they're just regular old soldiers and they could
Right.
easily be killed.
Yeah, and Bruegel didn't bring all of his people, or at least I'm going to assume not, because we've seen more. We saw a whole lot more there at the marketplace. Of course, the Croat did kill a whole bunch of the one peoples,
Yeah.
and there has been a lot of wholesale slaughter this season.
Yeah, totally. And I think honestly, once Negan, like when Negan took over the Damas people, they just acclimated. They said, "Oh, we have a new leader."
Mm-hmm.
So I think it could be the same thing with Bruegel, like his people, when they see, "Oh, damn, he killed him, he's gone."
Right.
They'll just get in line and do what they'll just join the
Mm-hmm.
new group. I think they'll just merge together unless someone stands up and says, "Oh, I'm in control of this group now," which has not happened yet with any
Yeah.
group. You know, I guess it's possible, but they're setting up more conflict just fine. So I don't know if
Yeah.
we need it, but maybe. I don't know. It's hard to guess what they're going to do on this show because they're so inconsistent, I feel like.
Right.
So,
And like there's even the numbers that we see are very inconsistent.
mhm.
Um, the numbers that we saw last season with the Dama were a lot, and we saw these big gatherings, these big groups, and these rah 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 things, which we really didn't see so much this year or this
Mhm.
season. And even at the church, she had a couple people, but really, I never. There's really never more than like 20 or 30 people
Mhm.
there at the church from her group.
Mhm.
And when they invited the other groups in for the little powwow, they did fill up the seats of the church.
They did. Mhm.
But I mean, that's still maybe what 100 people a piece, maybe depending on the size of the church.
I don't know. I mean, bare bones, even if there are 100 people, they could probably still beat out the New Babylon people still.
Right, but we also have to remember this the attrition rate
Yeah, it's
we
true.
see,
Yeah, it's true.
because the one group, Bruegel killed pretty much everyone except for the women and children.
Right. And the women and children aren't going to fight anyone.
Exactly,
Unlikely.
unlikely. So that's at
Yeah.
least 100 gone right there. Bruegel's group has been more or less, hit. But since we don't know uh, we just don't know. The numbers are just, we don't know.
Mhm.
And quite honestly, if all the people we saw last season with the Dama,
Mhm.
she really shouldn't have needed any other group to take care of New Babylon, because she should have had the people.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know. I this show, I kind of feel like honestly, I feel like I'm so deep into this world. Like I'm not willing to give it up yet.
I get you.
Even though it is trash. I feel like overall, high level, this season was garbage. I was watching a whole lot of what am I watching?
Right. Well, and again, I think the biggest problem is, and this has been the problem with this show since they went off script from the comics, and that is there's no consistency.
Mhm.
A good show, you should be able to at least make some educated guesses and be somewhere in the ballpark at least half of the time. These guys on this, on this show, there were things happening that were just completely out of left field that didn't make any sense, that there was no indicators for, and we're just like, well, huh, hmm, okay. And it's not that, a good surprise every once in a while isn't a good thing. That's fine, but it has to be consistent within the world that it's in.
Right.
And they don't always do that. Sometimes walkers do things, sometimes they don't do things. Sometimes, characters will act completely out of character from themselves.
Mhm.
Um, it gets, if they were more consistent, it would be better. But apparently, they're just using the spaghetti method. They're throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
And, or they're just changing the rules to so they can do something that they think is cool. You know, um, but I really wish they would be a little more internally consistent. And I
Yeah.
think if they were to do that, the show would be a lot better. And that's
Yeah.
why it was so good to begin with, is because it was based on this whole comic book series that was very well written.
I think they have turned this show, like the show, okay, so to me, I feel like The Walking Dead was even between plot and character development.
Right.
Now it's all plot and not very much character development, which is
Uh-huh.
also another problem because they're, like you said, they're kind of just using these characters like stick
As props.
men props. Yeah, they're props, stick men and women to just move around the board to get to the plots they want to do.
Hmm.
And it doesn't always gel like with how the characters are supposed, how we expect them to be acting, how we expect,
Hmm.
so they could be doing a little more character work to make it
Yeah.
believable. And I understand they only have 8 episodes. I get it. So they have to keep things succinct. But even within the 8 episodes, they had a little bit of fluff in there this season.
Yeah. Well, and they could have used some of this time to have us further understand Maggie and Herschel's relationship,
Mhm.
or give us some more insight on Pearlie, or
Hell, give us a scene with Negan and Annie.
yeah,
What about that? A real one that wasn't in his imagination because he was
right.
delusional.
They could have done a flashback to the last time he saw her.
Yeah,
Because we never saw that.
right.
So, it's they need to start treating the characters like characters again and not props
Yeah.
or pawns to be moved around so that they can get to wherever it is they're trying to get to. Because when a character acts completely outside of what we assume is their character, it's jarring.
Mhm.
And I think that's been one of our bigger complaints, is just the lack of consistency.
So it's almost like they have a checklist of things they want done. We want the bat in Negan's hand again. We want him to act like he was acting when he was in charge of the Saviors.
Hmm.
We want fire. We want deaths. We want
Yeah.
uh they're checking a list and they're like, what character can we move to do it? And it's
Hmm.
not being true to the original stuff. It's
Right.
just not the same. It's definitely different. The further we get away from the original series, the worse it is.
Hmm. I would agree with that.
It's like I can't stop watching the train wreck for some reason.
Well, because you'd miss me.
Yeah, I would. I would. But I'm like, why are we doing this? We're torturing ourselves.
Well, yeah, there's that. But I guess it's that whole hope springs eternal thing. Maybe
Yeah.
next season will be better.
Maybe. Maybe not.
We're like in an abusive relationship with this show.
Yeah, and actually I heard somewhere, and I don't remember who said it, but I heard somewhere that they are anticipating 5 seasons.
Really?
Yeah, and if
Okay.
they actually get 5 seasons, I mean, the way these writers write, I can't imagine that they've plotted that far ahead. They feel like they're swinging by the seat of their pants, so
Right. But if you know that you're gonna, if you know that you've been greenlit for 5 seasons, then you should have a story arc for those 5 seasons.
now I don't know if they've been greenlit for all 5. I know that's what they'd like to do.
Right. But if that's their plan, then they should
Yeah.
have an overall story arc so that they can, again, maintain internal consistency.
Yeah, one would think. Because now we've gotta see a season of Pearlie, Maggie, and Negan working as some kinda team. I don't know what kinda team that's gonna look like.
Weird.
A team
I,
that you can't go to sleep around because they might murder you in your sleep.
you know, I can't say that I hate the idea of Maggie Negan and Pearlie being together.
Mhm.
I don't hate it,
Mhm.
but yeah,
It's different. I didn't really anticipate that exactly, but we did know that Maggie would stay put, right? We did
right.
guess that.
And we assume that, of course, Negan would too because it would,
Mhm.
you know, um, Pearlie. I honestly, I kind of thought he was going to die eh, in the season finale. So that was a nice surprise. He's still alive.
Yeah. I mean, he even got to do a little callback to that little story that woman told him.
Yeah, that was the ending.
Yeah. Actually, I also did not really like the narration at the end
Mm,
of Maggie and Negan kind of like talking back and forth about the voiceover reflecting on, you know, forks in the road and past and future and unknown future, all this stuff. I just kind of like zoned out a little bit.
yeah,
Like what? I don't know. I didn't like it.
it was okay. I didn't hate it, but
Mhm.
I don't know that it had quite the dramatic effect that they were probably hoping for.
No, it's
Because
kind
a
of
good
dull.
narration can really set things up. But I don't think that was this.
It didn't hit the way I think they intended it to,
Right.
at least not for me anyway. And maybe both of them talking didn't really work. I don't
Well, it was
know
all
what it
three.
was.
It was actually all three of them.
It was, and maybe that's part of why it didn't work. So does that mean that they're gonna be equally to sharing the screen next season?
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. And maybe also part of it is that none of them are likable. None of them. There's no who do you root for? None of them.
I mean, if you want to get real truthful here, there's really no one in this show that's worth rooting for, honestly.
No, they all can die.
I mean, who do we got? Okay, we got these three, and we've got Herschel, we've got the Dama, and somewhere the Croats running around.
Yeah.
We have the mass of followers from all three leaders who have now officially been killed. Um, and yeah, I mean, who else is there?
There's no one.
Yeah,
But that's, I think, another problem of weak character development. For me, like, it's important for me to want to be like, for example, when Negan first killed Glenn, and even though Maggie was struggling through that whole stupid show, I wanted vengeance for her,
yeah,
right? I was like, dang, that is messed up. And I
right,
feel like that feeling is gone, right? So they took that feeling away, and what's left is meh.
yeah. Because I mean, when Glenn died, oh man, I mean that you could hear collectively across the country.
Right.
Oh my God, you know,
Right, and that stoked her character's behavior for seasons and seasons.
yeah,
That was her sole motivation, her
yeah,
thing that was driving her forward, right? And now it's gone.
yeah.
I don't know. That leaves her really, like I said, meh. I feel nothing for her character. I don't feel sorry for her. I don't feel hopeful for her. I don't think this character knows what the hell she's doing.
I don't think she does either.
The writers don't know what to do with Maggie right now. That's what I feel like. If
Right.
they have something in store that's going to be interesting, I'd like to see it.
Me too. Please God, don't have Maggie and Negan get together.
Oh god, that would be I would
Awful.
stop. I would. I would protest. I would stop if they did that. Like, you've got to be kidding me. That man is married
Right.
with a child that he
Yep.
supposedly loves.
Yep.
So, let's not.
I mean, technically, both the men in this scene are married.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping they don't try to go romance angle to try and do something. I don't know. I really, I'm begging them not to.
Leave the romance out of this show, period. We had our glimpse at romance in The Walking Dead. It's over. It's gone.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what it would take for them to have some kind of romance that I for any of these characters that I would co-sign on. I mean, maybe if Annie showed up again next season and they actually managed to have some kind of camera relationship, I would be okay with that.
Yeah. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
But and I suppose I don't know. We've never even seen Pearlie's wife or kids, so we have no emotional connection to them whatsoever.
No. And he's not going back to New Babylon anytime soon.
Nope.
I don't know. Maybe he'll never go back. I guess he'll just leave them. I don't know. If he makes it out of the next season, he might not. Who knows?
Yeah.
Mm. I have not heard anything on when they anticipate the third season dropping. So, have you heard anything?
Not a thing.
Mm.
I mean, if I had to venture to guess, I'm going to say they if they're trying to stay on a schedule,
Mhm.
because there for a while they were really good about Walking Dead always came out in the fall, and so they might try to keep it on the same schedule they've got it on right now. So next springish,
Well, I
but
know with Daryl Dixon, that's like I said, coming September 7th, but I think they're only going to do half the season.
mm,
And then they'll take that winter break they always take.
right,
And then we'll probably get the back half of the season in February, usually when they used to come back, when The Walking Dead used to come back.
yep,
And then I guess Dead City might be another summer show, maybe
yeah,
late spring, early summer, assuming they get everything done in time.
yeah. That's I mean, without having any other information, I'm
Yeah,
assuming it's probably going to be around the same time as this. It started this year.
yeah. Because I haven't heard anything. I'm sure, they'll start dropping bits of information probably around the new year about
Hmm.
that. Because I know now with Comic Con being, I think it's like next month, right? I think
Yeah.
it's coming. So we're gonna get more Daryl Dixon information. They're gonna start dropping like snippets and all other kind of things to kind of get people excited for it. And they probably want to keep the conversation going
Hmm. Yeah.
through September 7th, so people don't get kind of forgetful.
Right.
If they're smart, that's what they'll do anyway. So
Well, we've already established they're not always so bright.
if they are not, they are not, dude. I don't know. So I gave my opinion of this season. What do you think? How do you think the season went overall?
It was okay.
It's okay. Mm-hmm.
Uh, I didn't I didn't hate it like I hated oh the world people.
World Beyond.
Yes. I hated that show. Hated it.
Didn't we all? That
Um,
was bad.
so I didn't hate it like that, and I didn't even hate it like I hated the first couple of seasons of Fear the Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to say that it was great because it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But it was it was watchable.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Walking Dead fan, it's definitely watchable. Um, but it's if if you're if you've somehow been living under a rock or in a coma for the last however many years, and you're just now coming into this, you would go, I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. I mean, to be honest, like, I think this might be a highly unpopular opinion, but I always have unpopular opinions. But honestly, Lauren Cohan, I don't think she's the best actress.
Yeah, she's okay.
She's just been doing Maggie for so long.
Hmm.
We're all used to her. And I don't think they could ever change her because,
No,
she's been a staple here. But if you were being really, really honest, she just
I
doesn't
think she,
have the it.
I think she was better with Glenn.
Yeah, like
I liked her, and this is not just the whole broken aspect of her, but her and Glenn together were actually good. They were interesting to watch, and I really liked them together.
maybe she's just a better actor with a partner. Like I even think of like that show she left to do for a little while, that Whiskey Cavalier show.
Hmm.
The show wasn't great. It wasn't
It
good, no
wasn't.
matter it got canceled. No, no wonder. But I think maybe her acting partner on that show didn't really, even though I liked that guy on Scandal. I can't remember what his name is right now. But together they just didn't really
Yeah.
do it. So she's one of these, like, okay, so for example, or in contrast to that, I do feel like Jeffrey Dean Morgan is good in everything he does.
Hmm.
He has like a natural charisma about him that even if he's playing a sick dude on Grey's Anatomy, right?
Yeah.
He's still fun to watch.
Hmm.
She
Yeah.
doesn't have that.
He has a lot more character charisma,
Yeah.
and he's a good bad guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah. But I do think he's turned typecast now a little bit. It's
Yeah.
gonna take a minute for him to get out of this persona because, like I said, I was watching Invincible earlier this year, and he was one of the Viltrumites, and it sounded like it was Negan as a Viltrumite. I swear, I'm like, he sound like Negan. He's talking like Negan. This is crazy. He couldn't even change it up a little bit, so he is very in the Negan zone, I guess. But anyway, that's just my little 2 cents. Anything else?
No, I think we pretty much got it covered.
Yeah, I think so. You guys, let us know what you thought of the season. Do you agree with any of the things we said? Disagree? Did you love it? If you did, please let us know what you loved. Leave us a
Yeah.
comment. I'd like to know. Because it's good to get a different point of view sometimes. So
Hmm. Yes, it is.
yeah, so this has been fun. It's been a great time. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you for listening to the entire episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening because we'll be back again in September. And you want to get that notification so you can join us live or listen later. And that's it. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.